Hello and welcome back to the second part of our Magic Book tutorial. In the first part of our tutorial we stopped here. We learned how to add the background, how to create the background, how to add that old book, and of course the little girl on top of it, and we prepare the magic for today's tutorial. So last time we stopped here, and now let's learn how to create the magic part. So to understand this magic and to create it better, you need three things. First is the brush tool, the normal brush tool, then is the eraser tool, and the third that I'm using is the smudge tool. So when you start you need three layers. First layer, go to layer, new layer, the mode should be screen and fill it with black. This will rename it to base. Then create a new layer, a normal transparent layer, and hold Alt and clip it inside this base, and here it will be our magic. Let's call this one magic. Then the third and the most important one is the gradient map. So go and choose gradient map. First you need to click here to edit the gradient. First on the left part you need to have the black color. On the right part you need to have the white color. So first thing you do is put the black on the left and white in the right. Then we need to add three more colors. So I'm clicking in the middle somehow here on something like 25% from the left. And here, depending on what color do you want your magic to be, in our case, it will be something like that, like an orange yellow color. And this is the base. Then, as you go to the right side, you will decrease the intensity of this color. So I'm clicking once again, double click, and I'm going more to the left and choose a lighter color. Then again I'm clicking the third time and I'm going more to the white side. So this is how I'm setting up the gradient map. Hit OK, hold Alt and click and add this gradient map inside. So be sure that both layers, the empty layer and gradient map, are inside your base layer, because if they are outside it doesn't work. So hold Alt and clip them inside this base layer. And now everything happens on the empty layer, the transparent layer. So now with the brush selected, if you use the white color, and now if our flow is set to 100% and just click once, it will do something like that. So if you paint, it is really intense and it doesn't work that well. So first thing that I'm going to do is decrease the flow to around 20%. Then if I'm clicking once, you'll see it will add, if I'm increasing the brush for example, it will add much nicer magic over there where I'm clicking. Of course you can decrease the flow to even less, let's say 10%, and add that magic. Alright, but in our case we will need two types of magic, let's say. First, I'm going to decrease the flow to around 3-4%. Alright, 4%, 3%. And if I'm clicking only once, it will add a small glance of that magic. So something really small, but it's important to set up like a background. So take the brush tool and decrease the size of the brush. The flow should be around 10%. And now, first thing, I'm going to create the trails for the magic. So I'm starting from here, let's say, and I'm making something like a shape. All right. So I'm drawing something like a shape. All right, in some directions, something like that. And then I'm going to take the smudge tool. All right, this tool here, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm dragging parts of this magic, and I'm taking like some shapes. I'm creating something like a shape, how I want this magic to be. So I'm just drawing on the screen using the smudge tool, and I'm just switching the directions, and I'm using this to create shapes. So this is how I do the magic part first. This is something like a base, and you know you can go in any direction that you want. You can take something like a circle, or I don't know, any shape that you want, like a smoke. You can see here on the last part I make this one more invisible, because I want it to be dispersed in the air. And of course I can use this smudge tool anywhere that I want. So this is how I set up the base for the magic. And you can increase the smudge tool, the size of the smudge tool, or decrease if you want to have small details. And then you can play around more if you want. So this is how I start, and then I'm switching back to the brush tool and decrease the size of the brush to something really small, like 20% or even less, let's say 16%. And now let's zoom in, and depending on what shapes I have created, I'm going to paint with this white color something like that, but this is too intense, and I'm going to decrease the opacity to around 18-20%. So now if I paint, you see I'm creating some highlights on those shapes. So it's important first to create some shapes on the screen, and then I'm going to make them more visible by using the brush tool again on top of those shapes that I just created. So this is how I make them to pop up more, to be more visible. And I'm just creating some small lines with a white brush, and I'm just following what the smudge tool created, and I'm just making those parts more visible. So every time I'm doing it, this is a random magic thing. I'm never doing the same magic twice again, because it's impossible. Every time I use the smudge tool is just a random thing. And then this is what I'm doing. I'm using this brush to make some parts more visible, and some parts then with the eraser tool, I'm using the eraser tool to erase some parts of this magic. So then if you switch to the eraser tool, and of course the flow should be really low, not too much, let's say like 5-6%, decrease the size of the eraser, and then you can erase some parts to make them more invisible. Or if you didn't like something, you can use the eraser tool and erase some parts of that magic. So this is how I created the magic parts, the first magic. So this is our magic that we learned to do until now. And if you want to have, I don't know, more intense magic coming from the book, you can use again the brush tool, increase the size of the brush, and increase the opacity to 100%, and the flow, let's say 2%. And now if I'm going to our magic and paint, you'll see that some parts will be more intense than others, and you can always increase the size of the brush more, and you'll see that you'll add more color to that side. All right, so you can, depends on what you want. You can play around with the size of the brush, and when you think that something is not right, just switch to the eraser tool and just erase some parts where you think it doesn't look good. And then of course all the time you can switch to the smudge tool and do some I don't know, magic again. You can change the shapes that you already have done, then again repeat the process, switch to the brush and just paint again on the new created shapes. Then I want to create a new layer, an empty layer, this one, and I'm increasing the size of the brush. And if I paint now in front of her, it will add a general, let's say, color in front of the book. So you can do that, and I think it's too much. I'm switching to the eraser tool, and I'm erasing again some parts that I think I overreacted with, and those are the layers. So as you can see, this is really nice. I think if you spend more time, it will look even better than what I showed you in my tutorial. All right, so what I like to this method is that let's say in time you want to change this orange color, and you just go here on the gradient map, and if you click and change those colors, in my case I have made some presets, so let me show you. If I click just once, you can see the magic changes to those colors, and I have many presets because I have different type of designs when I'm creating magic. And as you can see, every color has its own personality, and you can switch to any color that you want. And in our case, as I said, I use this orange color, but I don't know, sometimes when you want to use this blue color, and it looks really nice also. So that's really nice. You can make them in one color, and then you just change the gradient. All right, so this is the first part of the magic, and then let's hide this magic that I just created, and let's bring back the original magic that I have. Alright, so this was the original magic that I created. Alright, and I have added some stars, little stars here and there. Is just one brush, one star brush, and I just use it and decrease the size, increase the size, and I just place some stars around. If you want to learn how to do that, it's really easy. Just create a new layer. Let's hide this one, and now I have this star brush. It's just a simple star brush, and now if I paint, just click once, I add first the bigger stars, something like that, and then I decrease the size of the brush, and I continue to paint and add the small stars, and then I decrease even more, add the little stars, increase the size. You know, you have to play around to add those little stars wherever you think it needs. And yeah, this is how I created the stars part. And of course, if you think the opacity is too strong, just decrease the opacity. It's really easy. Just drag the slider more to the left, and here it is. Alright, so this is how I created the stars part. It's really easy. Those are the stars. Now, let's move on and add those creatures. So it's the same method, but in order to draw those animals or whatever magical creature that you have in mind is a bit different. Of course, first thing, create a new layer, and it should be set on screen and fit it with black. Then add another new layer, and now the gradient map. So go to gradient map and do the same thing. To the left should be dark, like black, full black. To the right should be white. Alright, and then the same, the orange color, then another orange bar more to the light part, and then the lightest shade of that orange, and hit OK. But in our case, because I already have done it, I will use this preset and hit OK. Alright, and now clip all of them, all two layers, into this empty black layer set to screen. So we have this PNG file of this unicorn, and what I need to do now is going to this empty layer, use the brush tool set to white color, and to draw on top of the unicorn and to make something like an outline. So with the white color selected, opacity should be 100% and the flow, let's keep it around 10%. And now if I'm drawing like something like that, it will make like a shape in the form of this unicorn. Alright, so we managed to do this selection. Then let's uncheck this unicorn. I think it looks really nice. Now let's move on and add some color inside the unicorn selection. So now let's decrease the opacity to around 20%, and I'm going to draw inside, not to have this unicorn that transparent. So just paint inside to give him something like a volume, not to be that, as I said, that transparent. Alright, so we managed to create our unicorn, which is like that. Now I want to drag the bottom part somehow inside the book, so it looks like the unicorn comes from the book. So now let's duplicate this layer. If we are going to use the smudge tool, we might do some mistakes. So let's Ctrl J and duplicate this layer and uncheck him. And now let's work on this one. So go and take the smudge tool. Now I'm going to use this part, and with the Smudge tool I'm going to create this effect. I'm just you know, playing around with the Smudge tool and create something like an effect that comes from this book, something like a magic. So I'm just dragging to the left and create this you know, this twirl effect that makes the unicorn come from the book. So you know, you can decrease the size of this Smudge tool, and you can do the same thing here on the tail, wherever you think this needs to be like not that straight, or to be you know, more magically, let's say. All right, then when you finish with the Smudge tool, switch back to the Brush tool and let's create a shape that comes from the book. So with the Brush tool, I'm drawing again and I'm creating another shape that will help this magic looks much better. All right, so I'm just drawing around on top of that shape that the Smudge tool created, and then again switch to the Smudge tool and increase a bit the shape, increase a bit the size, and I'm going to, you know, add another shape to that smudge. So I'm just playing around, and you know, it's not perfect from the first time. You have to exercise and to repeat this many times, but as I said, the result, it's really nice. I just love it because every time I create this magic comes in a different shape, and I'm improving my method all the time. So when you do this, just repeat it many times and then switch back to the Brush tool, add more color if you want, and at the end, when you finish with the shape, just decrease the size of the brush and zoom in. And now I'm going to make this magic pop up more. So I'm going to paint on the parts that this here on the top, that where this Smudge tool created those shapes. So I'm painting a bit. As you can see with the white color, it makes those parts much nicer. So this is how I made this unicorn, and I did the same thing with the dragon to the other side. So we have these dragons from freepik.com, and in our case we are selecting this dragon to the right. If we want to select him, I'm taking the lasso tool and I'm selecting around him, something like that. I'm pressing Ctrl and C to copy it, and I'm going back here to our design. And now I'm going to go underneath our magic and Ctrl V, and now Ctrl T, and right click and flip it horizontally. All right, now with the Magic Wand tool, I'm just clicking and it will make a selection. I think it looks nice. And now I'm pressing the mask and then Ctrl I to invert the mask. And we have our dragon ready. Don't worry about the outline. You can leave it like that. Press Ctrl T again and let's place our dragon into our design. I think something like that. Here it makes a really good position. All right. So now we are going to do the same thing, but this time we are going to create a new layer. So create a new layer, take the Brush tool again, and switch the opacity to 100%, flow 10%, and now we are going to draw an outline to this dragon. So as we did to the unicorn, we are doing the same thing now with the dragon. As I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, because we'll use the Smudge tool and deform that that shape anyway. Alright, so we made the shape of the dragon. Then I'm going to hide this dragon. Now I'm going to add some volume inside, so it's not that really transparent, just an outline. And I'm going to decrease the opacity, and I'm continue to paint inside this shape of the dragon. Alright, so we did this shape, and now I'm going to duplicate this layer. If I'm doing something wrong, I need to have it as a backup. So don't forget to hold Alt and click between the layers, so you have this one also inside the base layer. All right, so this is the dragon, the copy. Let's uncheck him, and of course let's rename this one from the right. Let's name this one unicorn so we know which one is it, and then this one we should name it dragon. So we have the dragon and the copy of the dragon, and now take the smudge tool, and we are going to use the smudge tool and play a bit with the tail and do something like a shape that comes from the book. Alright, then take again the brush tool and continue to paint on top of this shape that the smudge tool created. We have this shape. Take again the smudge tool and play more with this shape and make it even random. So when you finish, again switch to the brush tool and make the size of the brush tool smaller, increase the opacity to 100%, and now I'm going to make some lines. I think this is too much, so we need the flow to be around 2%. And now let's paint again. Alright, so I'm making these outlines, those outlines to the shape that my smudge tool created. And I'm going to increase the size, and I'm making more color. I'm drawing some more color here to make the switch to the dragon more nicer, much nicer. And again, take the smudge tool, play more if you want. If you are satisfied with the result, just leave it like that. But as I said, I always play with the brush smudge tool, and if I don't like something, I'm just taking the eraser tool and I'm erasing some parts. Let's say here, I don't like this part, I'm just erasing it. Then take again the smudge tool, play around, you know, and give it whatever shape that comes to my mind. And then take again the brush tool and draw some outlines to make this magic look much better. Alright, so this is how I created those little animals, those little creatures. And of course, at the end, I want to make the parts that are far away from the book a bit more transparent. So go to the gradient map, to the mask, take the black color, and now if we are painting on the sides, it will make those parts whiter, and then I will keep the parts that are closer to the book more to the orange side. So this is how I created those creatures. And of course you can add another mask to the base layer, and you can do the same thing, and it will make those parts transparent if you want. But this is up to you, depends on how you see this design. As I said, I like it a lot like that, or you can, you know, make them more visible. Alright, so this is how I created also the little creatures and the magic. So let's uncheck, let's hide those that we did today. Let's place them into a group, hide a group, and then let's bring back what I created from the beginning. So those are our creatures that I created last time, and now I think you managed to understand and to learn how to create your own magic creatures. So if you liked my tutorial today, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of other interesting tutorials, and I post every week a new tutorial. So until next time, thank you so much for watching this tutorial that had 2 parts, and see you next time.